Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And tomorrow we're waiting with bated breath for the face-to-face meeting between Presidents Trump and Putin. From Europe's point of view, I get the impression the cautious optimism described by various leaders yesterday is probably of the hope that nothing much happens at all with the meeting. We all know that Putin has been adept at wrapping Trump around his little finger, but could things be different this time? Has Europe been able to develop a counter of its own to keep Trump in line this time around? But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So this meeting between Trump and Putin with no others present is, of course, a stunningly bad idea. This is Putin getting his own way. He should be an international pariah. By meeting with him at all, Trump is giving Putin credibility on the world stage after falling so low that he's now in hock to North Korea. It would be different if Putin were finally willing to start being serious about peace, but he has shown zero inclination. This meeting makes Putin look important. So even if nothing terrible comes of it, it's still net bad. By meeting him one-on-one without any other stakeholders present, Trump has also shown that he's still letting Putin call the shots. Concerns were raised when Trump seemed to bristle at Zelensky saying he would not concede territory after the Orange One talked about swapping land. And with the recent accusation from a former British intelligence chief that Putin has Epstein-related kompromat on Trump, if true, then tomorrow's meeting looks like setting itself up to be a massive problem. Although actually on the Epstein note, that is one of the calculations that's changed for me. See, for some time, some of you will know, I struggled to believe Putin could really have anything incriminating on Trump for the simple reason that Trump can't really have done anything, which is worse than what we already know. I'm genuinely baffled about why Trump has sought to hide his links with Epstein when they are well documented. And being a friend with Epstein does not incriminate him in Epstein's criminal activities. But for whatever reason, Trump seems genuinely scared of further Epstein revelations and has broken his election promise to release the files. I really have no idea what Trump is worried about. He's committed every sin in the book and his supporters just shrug it all off. Cannot understand it. However, it is a fact, Trump is running scared. So if Putin does have something spicy, and it's not the sort of thing Trump can just cry fake news over, videos, maybe there is a potential blackmail in the equation, as unbelievable as that has sounded to me. If Trump comes out of that meeting saying he has won a ceasefire agreement, great news, everyone, got a ceasefire agreement. All Ukraine has to do is give up its territory. Then we're back at square -5 again. But is there more hope this time? I think perhaps yes. See, unlike in the past, European leaders are no longer taking an adversarial approach with Trump. And it's not just diplomacy. Europe have changed the arithmetic in a few practical ways as well. I think one source of hope for me was Trump saying, after he met European leaders, that this meeting was really about exploring things rather than agreeing anything. If Trump had gone into this meeting with the world expecting a deal at the end of it, we'd have been in trouble. But the latest from Trump is he seems to expect nothing from the meeting. It's changed from an opportunity for him to use his awesome powers to get deals made to one of just literally having a face-to-face chat to see if anything comes of it. And this shift means Trump has now given himself the room to come out of the meeting with nothing and not have to blame anyone for the failure. He's set expectations at zero. I think even Trump, on a good day, can probably meet expectations of zero. But other things have changed as well. Trump has previously been at loggerheads with Europe over several key issues, two of which have materially changed in the last few months. First, Trump criticised the lack of defence spending amongst many European NATO allies. It was not an unreasonable criticism either. But Europe, seeing that we can no longer rely upon the USA as a serious defence ally for the long term, have stepped up plans to establish our own independent defence systems, including manufacture. But that will take time. As these plans build up, there have been promises to massively boost defence spending from many countries, therefore meeting Trump's main concerns and allowing him to sell it as a win back home. But also Europe has agreed to purchase American weapons for Ukraine, rather than the USA contributing them. This also feeds into the other change, trade. Trump sees the trade between the US and EU as massively unbalanced in Europe's favour. As well as European countries agreeing to buy significant quantities of American weapons, the EU has also agreed to swallow Trump's 15% tariffs. Now, it is inconceivable that the EU would have done this were it not for Russia's invasion. The EU are economically strong enough to bite back against US tariffs. They've done it before on more than one occasion for less than this. It seems almost certain to me that the EU have agreed not to escalate in return for Trump's support of Ukraine, or at least as much support as they can expect him to manage. Behind closed doors, has this been explicitly explained to him? Or at least his close advisor, so he's under no illusions, that if he sides with Putin again, the EU will reevaluate their tariff position. The bottom line is that Putin cannot offer Trump anything tangible. You know, the relationship between Trump and Putin is entirely personal. Trump might personally benefit from the easing of Russian sanctions, but that can only go so far if Europe refuses to ease them as well. And even that will not compensate the losses, political and otherwise, if the EU takes retaliatory action against Trump. It is likely that Trump cannot afford the economic cost of his own tariffs as they currently stand. He was beaten down by China. It seems inconceivable that he would be comfortable with the EU biting back as well. And if, as I suspect, the EU are only letting Trump get away with his nonsense in return for at least saying the right things where Ukraine is concerned, maybe that's the reason European leaders are cautiously optimistic about this meeting tomorrow, because a few years ago you would not have been. They would, of course, like to hold Trump to his word that tighter sanctions will follow if Putin doesn't offer serious concessions or agree to a ceasefire, but the status quo will still be a win, I think, when there's a serious threat of Trump taking a few steps backwards. After all, even the current sanctions are hurting Russia. Putin tries to brush them off publicly, but this was already a knackered economy and this isn't helping. He's now having to rely on North Korean slave workers, according to reports. Imagine being dependent upon North Korea to manage your economy and trying to claim everything's fine. Trump has reportedly agreed that beyond a ceasefire, nothing can be agreed without at least Zelensky at the table. Europe has forged a much more symbiotic relationship with Trump than during his first term. Trump has been burned by a trade war with one of the two markets able to challenge the US and likely doesn't want to try it on with the second. So there are material differences in the background between now and Helsinki 2018, when Trump famously let Putin tickle his belly like an obedient doggy. That being said, neither Putin nor Trump have changed, and if there is Russian kompromat in the mix, then, well, we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Absolute best case scenario is that Trump comes away saying Putin is still being a dick, and there's no choice now but to tighten sanctions. Based on past behaviour, this seems unlikely. So coming away from the meeting claiming it was a good meeting, but nothing was decided, and everything's the same as it is now, is probably the best we can expect. Perhaps behind the scenes, Europe are really just urging Trump to do nothing as being better than making things worse. Stay your current line and we'll just wait for the Russian economy to shit itself inside out. Maybe it's better to tell Trump to do nothing, but with the hidden menace of a trade war if he steps out of line, than to expect him to do anything useful. A lot of progress has been made since February. We could do with not losing it all because of one ill-advised meeting with someone who should be treated like a pariah until he gives an indication he's willing to talk seriously. Frankly, Trump shouldn't even be talking to him on the phone. I did see a suggestion that the Orange One discussed with European leaders that he was willing to offer Putin resources from Alaska, which is probably how he'd have to do it if he wanted to get past European sanctions, and an easing of American sanctions, which is okay. I mean, that's not particularly any skin off Europe's nose, as long as it's in return for something from Putin. If it's intended as a quid pro quo incentive, that's up to America. But if it's in return for nothing, then that just screws everyone over, including the United States. But let me know what you think in the comments below. And for more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.